Hello everyone, this is Tanya from Professor Tanya Speaks, and today we're going to be looking at speech introductions again. Now you'll remember in last week's video we looked at 3 speech introductions which were done by my winter 2021 students, and what you saw was the final version. But in today's video we're going to be looking at the before version, and then we're going to be looking at the after version. And this speech was done only last week, summer 2021, and it was done by one of my public speaking students, Raj, who was kind enough to allow you to critique her speech introduction. So let's see her before speech now.
Dealing with change, challenges, or loss is a part of life. And at some point, everyone experiences setbacks. And some of these challenges might be relatively small, such as not getting a promotion at work or not getting into a class that you really wanted to take. And other challenges are a little bit more disastrous, such as floods or hurricanes. How we deal with these problems can play a significant role in the outcome. You see, I've been through both major and minor incidences in my life. And what helped me get through them was resiliency. And I learned it at an early age. I was no more than 8. I believe I was in grade 2. And we had moved to a new school. I was bullied. I had no friends. I hated every single day of it. I had no one to sit with at lunch, no one to play with at recess. I couldn't change my situation and go back to my old school where all of my friends were, because not only had I changed schools, but we had also changed provinces, and I moved from Alberta to BC. I had no option but to make my life better in BC for myself. And even though I cried every day before school, after school, and even at school, I eventually spoke to my parents. And we came to the realization that I couldn't change the situation that I was in, but I could change me. So that's what I did. Started to put myself out there and would look for things that I had in common with other students. I didn't need them all to be my friends, just needed one. And that's where it started. I ended up striking up a conversation with a girl named Prab. We became friends. She introduced me to her friend circle, and things were slowly but surely getting better. Until this day, she's actually still one of my best friends. So I hope that the resiliency that I showed at that early age can help you as well, because this is a skill, and learning the skill allows you to recover, bounce back, and cope with problems faster and in a healthier way. So you may be wondering, if resiliency is a skill, how do you learn it?
So that was Raj's before version, and the first thing I said when I heard it was excellent topic choice. Why? Because it's novel. And when we use novel in this case, we're using it as an adjective, meaning new, unusual, different. Though not a challenging topic, it was definitely a novel topic. Now, I did a video where I gave you ideas about how to come up with novel topics, and then I did another video where I spoke about the difference between the A, the B, and the C speech. Now, if you want to do an A speech, your topic has to be novel or challenging. So when I listened to her speech, I knew it could definitely be an A speech with a little bit of help. So the second bit of feedback was, this speech needs structure. And that's the first thing I ask of all students when they begin doing public speaking with me. In the same way that in academia, there's an expectation of what an essay should look like, where we expect an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. We expect a thesis statement in the introduction. We expect topic sentences, etc. In the same way that we have the expectation for an essay, there's also an expectation when it comes to the speech. And the speech has to have a specific structure. It should have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, where the introduction has 5 parts, as I discussed in this video. Then the body should have 3 points, preferably 3, preferably not 2 or 4, because in communication we like the rule of 3. And then the conclusion should have 2 parts, as I discussed in this video. 2 to 3 parts, depending on how you count it. So, introduction, body, conclusion. And between the introduction and the body, there has to be a transition. And between the body and the conclusion, there has to be another transition. And in the same way that essays are expected to flow by using transitional phrases between sentences, it's the same thing that is required in a speech, so that there is flow within the introduction, within the body, within the conclusion, and between each section of the speech. So I asked Raj to restructure her speech so that it followed the outline. I asked her also to emphasize the thesis by saying something like, so today I'm going to talk to you about, and I asked her to work on the transitions between each section of the speech. Now, the next thing I asked her to do was to begin with a story as the attention grabber. Now, in this video, I talk about the 3 best attention grabbers, but of the 3, the absolute best one is a story. So at the 40-second mark, where she spoke about being bullied, I asked her to make that her attention grabber and to change it from being a summary into a story. Now, if you're wondering about what makes a good story, I have a playlist where I talk about what makes a good story, how to find stories from your life, how to craft them, how to write them, and how to deliver them. So if you're interested in that, I have a playlist, and that will give you some ideas. And because Raj was seated, the next thing I asked her to do was stand and deliver her speech. And that's something I ask of all my public speaking students, because in the real world, you will stand and deliver your speech. And when you stand, the energy is also a lot better. And I get a chance to assess your body language. I noticed last semester I saw a new trend where students are now delivering their speeches on their beds. Guys, I don't want to see you on your bed. In the real world, that's not what you'll be doing. And it's inappropriate, especially, people are fidgeting and no, please don't. I don't want to see your beds, guys. So please, no more beds. Thank you. And then I asked Raj to not use resiliency, but to use the word resilience, because that would be more appropriate for this speech. And because the outline that Raj did showed her obvious, excellent writing skills, I asked her to do a couple more things, which were not required, but I knew she could do them. I asked her to throw in some pauses, to throw in some repetition, and to use some personal pronouns wherever she could, and she did. Now let's look at her speech after the feedback. She improved the entire speech, but we're only looking at the introduction, so let's look at her introduction.
It was the first day of school of 1996. A little girl headed to class with her backpack slung over one shoulder, because that's how the cool kids wore it. She was filled with excitement, anticipation, and, of course, nervousness, as it was the first day of grade 2 at her new school. She was helped into finding her class, and upon entrance, she noticed that it was filled with chatter and laughter. But then the class got really quiet, and out of the blue, a voice spoke up and said, "Ew, who's that loser?" The class burst into laughter, and the girl into tears. Damage was done. She was marked as the outsider. She was asked to take a seat, but the only one that was left was next to the teacher's desk. So she gathered her things, and she knew it was going to be a long year. The first day was tough, and it always is at a new school, but the coming days never got any easier either. No one wanted to be friends with the new kid, especially not the one that sits next to the teacher's desk. That is what gave her the nickname of teacher's pet. and no one wants to play or be friends with the teacher's pet. So she was bullied and called names for the first few weeks of her new life at grade 2. Then, finally, after 2 months of this, she spoke to her parents and came to the realization that she couldn't change the situation. Because not only had she changed schools, but also provinces. She had moved from Alberta to BC and now had no option but to change herself. So that's what she did. She started to put herself out there a little bit more and look for things she had in common with others. She didn't need all of her classmates to be her friends, just one. So one day she struck up a conversation with a girl named Pam, and they soon became friends, and Pam ended up introducing her to her other friends. Finally, things were slowly but finally getting better. I was that little girl. I dealt with the changes, and I faced the bullying and setbacks. You see, we all deal with challenges and changes at some point in our life. I just happen to have experienced them at a very young age. This may be something that could happen to you, or it's something that's already happened to you, or it's something that you may deal with. It could be a horrible heartbreak, the loss of a parent, moving to a new city or country, or losing your job because of the pandemic. But how you deal with these challenges is what plays a significant role in their outcome. Till date, I've spent countless hours reading research articles and scouring the internet for answers, and I keep coming back to the fact that in 2016, Stats Canada found that only 25% of the population said that they had enough energy and strength to meet all of life's challenges, meaning 3/4 of that population felt stuck and hopeless in their current situation. So how do you become part of that 25%? How do you gather enough strength and energy to meet all of life's challenges? And how do you keep getting back up when life throws you down? Well, I'm going to let you in on how to do it, and that's through resilience. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. And today, I'll be going over how to learn resilience, how to build resilience, and the characteristics of resilience.
So that was Raj's speech after she made the changes. And I know you will agree that her speech went from being an average speech to an above average speech, simply because she structured it for maximum impact. And that's why the first order of business when you are doing public speaking is following the structure. This is the structure that I recommend and I ask of all my public speaking students. So I hope that the speech that Raj did was useful and that it has now given you ideas for how you can improve your speech and order it for maximum impact. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.